Okay, now what we're going to look at is the tools panel. That is this little guy right over here. I would consider this sort of the front of your car's dashboard. This is where you're going to find all the tools that you need to do your work. So, in contrast with these tools over here, which actually show you attributes of an object that you're working on and how to assign attributes to that object that you've created or developed or inherited, these tools are actually the ones that do the heavy lifting. All right, so first of all, let's look at the tools palette. Let's just learn how to work with this palette. This object is not fixed here. One of the nice things about Illustrator is that understanding that you're going to be interacting with your artwork in various ways, zooming in, zooming out, turning objects, etc. There's a lot of tools that can end up cluttering your workspace. As I mentioned in a previous video, you're going to want to be able to move them. So this object right here is movable. If I just click and drag, I can do what's called a float of the object, or float it in the workspace and put it where I want to. And when it approaches an object, a kindred object, it'll do what's called a snap to. It'll just recognize its proximity and go bing and snap right in. And I can do that by dragging the little gray nodule here, or just by pulling and dragging. I can also snap it back up to its little origin over here in the upper left-hand corner. Those of us who've used Illustrator for a number of years know that the configuration of tools has changed and expanded and evolved in recent iterations of Illustrator. This actually looks a little new to me. I too am new to Illustrator version 6, so we'll be learning a little bit together on this. But you can see by clicking on this item, the double arrows, that we can go from a single column of tools to a shorter double column of tools. Some of you may be more comfortable with one or the other, but you do have that flexibility, which is really nice. You might say, hey, I want to work this way, and try both ways, but what they do is all the tools just line up in a row when it's in the double column, and then they extend down, which is pretty handy. Okay, so something to know about all of these tools that you see is there are keyboard shortcuts or keyboard commands, whatever your word for these terms are, is that there's alternative ways of getting to these tools rather than mousing over. Now, this is one of my personal passions as a professional, is the use of the keyboard command whenever possible. My mother is a 71-year-old woman who likes to use the computer, and I find myself in excruciating agony whenever I try to work with her and find that she likes to take her hand off the keyboard of something that she's typing, to go over to her mouse, and then move across the page to select the object. So what I advise her to do and give her her commands for is to use her keystrokes. That saves over time an enormous amount of time as you're working on anything. This particular tool panel, when you hover over any of these tools, you're going to see the keyboard command to access that tool. V is the one for the selection tool. What's this one? The direct selection tool is A. The magic wand tool is Y. The lasso tool is Q. The pen tool is P. You see what I'm saying? So we'll get a little bit more into that later in the semester, but you'll see that rather than having to drag your mouse all over the place, which takes away from you being in your workspace, doing your things, you can just come over here and you can actually just use your little selection tool keystrokes. Another thing is that when you click on any of these tools and hold down, you're going to see a menu of tools that are underneath the tool that's on top. So right now, the direct selection tool is the one that's visible. This little corner icon right here, this little white object, shows you that there's more going on with this tool. So if you click and hold, you see that you can be in the direct selection tool or what's called the group selection tool. I merely can go back by clicking on the arrow and changing back to the direct selection tool. For example, your text tool or your type tool, you click on the arrow in the lower right-hand corner, you're going to see that there's a slew of fantastic type tools buried underneath that one single icon of the T. Okay? So that is essentially how your toolbar works. You can see a preview of what each of these tools do in a very concise format on page 38 of your textbook. That's going to show you, I'll give you a little preview of all the tools at once, which actually could be a really good tool to have, maybe to photocopy that or take a photo of it with your phone and put it in your workspace, because a lot of times I find over the years I'm like, wait, where's that tool? Where did I see it last? Where's it hidden? And then I'll spend 3 or 4 minutes clicking and trying to say, where is the smudge tool or the rotate tool? How do I find it? The paint bucket. So yeah, page 38. Check it out.